All right, a little more about detectors and some of the techniques I use to find gold nuggets. I get a lot of people asking me a lot of questions online and by email and at my forum where we discuss a lot of nugget hunting techniques and different types of metal detecting. And you can find my forum through my website, nuggetshooter.com. Find the Nugget Shooter forums. I guess one of the most often asked questions is, how do I set up my detector to hunt gold nuggets? And depending on what kind of detector you have, there's a lot of variables there. The coin relic machines, they would work pretty good probably for a nugget shooting machine, except for the fact they're not made to handle the rapidly changing ground that we deal with all the time in the gold fields. Ground can change so quickly in just a few feet and be completely different and have to be re-ground balanced, and it's a constant ongoing thing with us, especially in the desert areas. And you go from a little bit of soil that's pretty benign and you got your detector all set up, next thing you know it's all out of whack and all over the place, and it's simply because you've walked over an area that's a little more or less mineralized than what you were balanced to. So it's a constant thing for us. And the three main settings, I've been over this before with folks, and you got ground balance, you got your threshold, and you got your sensitivity or gain, depending on the type of detector you're going to use. Having those three set up properly is of the utmost importance, and is going to make the difference between having a successful, fun hunt or a disaster, frustrating hunt. The sensitivity or gain, what a lot of people don't understand about it is it's RF gain. RF meaning it's receive, not transmit. Okay? When I first started hunting gold, it was the common practice just to turn the darn gain or your sensitivity all the way up on these detectors and go hunt. And as a result, a lot of people got frustrated, and it didn't take me long to realize that when you turn the gain up or your sensitivity, and I'll use gain for most part of this, but sensitivity and gain on any machine is the same setting. But we all thought if you turned it way up, you would get more power going out into the ground. Well, I'm sorry, the real reality of that is that the machines are set when they come out of the factory and how many kilohertz of power that they put out and they're able to use. So turning the gain up, all it does is confuse the machine, because now you're allowing the machine to process or try to process more information than it's capable of. And as a result, you get an unstable threshold, and you also get problems in ground balancing. The factory presets on most machines is going to be right dead center. And factory presets on your machine, though you can hunt in factory presets, it is a starting point. A starting point. It's a place where the manufacturer figured, well, this pretty much averages out for everywhere we've tested this detector, so this is where we're going to put it. And you start your machine up and you're in the factory presets. It's up to you at that point to adjust that machine to work the ground that you're going to be hunting gold in. Starting out, with a pulse induction machine, you have to do an EMI. And some of the newer VLF machines also are able to do an EMI, electromagnetic interference check, for you and adjust itself so that it works the best in the area that you plan to hunt. And that may have to change throughout the day as more power is used by power lines nearby or in the ground, or the sun changes or the wind changes. There's a lot of variables in there that can change the way your machine operates. So you may have to adjust the EMI several times through the day. Planes can cause problems if they're using radar and whatnot as well. Once the EMI is set on the pulse induction, now you go to the three settings that we're going to discuss now. The first one is your threshold. And I've touched on this in another video, but not in detail. The threshold is the voice of your machine. It's what you listen for and to hear targets. Okay? Some people turn the threshold all the way down. And as a result of that, you're going to miss small targets and some deep targets. You're looking for something to bump the threshold. All right? So your threshold's running at a nice smooth rhythm. It's never going to be a smooth threshold. They mean smooth rhythm. It's kind of a nice rhythm. That's where you want to get it set, and so you can just hear it. And the old cliche about the mosquito by your ear is a good one. When you hear a mosquito in your room, it's kind of buzzing around, driving you nuts, trying to find it in the dark before he bites you. We don't have a lot of mosquitoes in Arizona. We're lucky here, except when it rains. Then we got little bitty flood mosquitoes. They land and bite instantly. But anyway, back to detecting. You've got that threshold set now to where you can hear it. If it's down too low, it's going to crackle. It's not going to have that nice steady rhythm. And if you've got it too high, it's just too high and too loud, and it's going to irritate you. And by half the day, you're going to be almost plumb nuts from listening to it scream in your ears all day. You want it just so you can hear when you go over a target, because you've got that nice rhythm now. You got, that's a target. That's a target. You're not always going to hear gold as that mighty zip, zip, or the bing, bang, or whatever you use to your detector sounds. We're talking about gold detectors here, remember. Okay, it's not always going to be that zip, zip. A lot of times that's going to be a big piece of trash or something shallow. A lot of people don't understand that gold is a very poor conductor. Poor conductor. So, Bill, why do they use gold on electronic fittings and wiring? Corrosion. Gold doesn't corrode. And most other metals will. Copper, silver, some of the best conductors actually corrode very bad. So, if you had all your plugins without having some sort of a coating on them in today's electronics, you're going to suffer because you're going to get some corrosion on there, which lessens the electricity is able to travel through the fittings or whichever information or what you're trying to run through that cable or that line or that piece of wire where it's plugged in. You're going to have issues. With gold on there, it fits in there nice. The gold's soft, so it makes for a nice, solid connection. That's why they use gold. Electricity travels down the center of that wire, not the outside in the gold. Simple as that. Okay. So, gold being a poor conductor is not going to give you that nice heavy zip zip every time. A lot of times it's no more than just a little bump, just a little whoop, like that. Anything that disturbs that threshold when you're out there could be a target. It could be a piece of gold. Does that mean you got to dig every sound you hear? Well, unfortunately, pretty much until you actually learned your detector and the sounds it makes and how to operate it properly, yeah. You're going to have to experiment and look at every target, hot rocks and all. And sooner or later you start getting a feel for your detector and it's not that big of an issue. Okay, so now we're past the threshold. We're going to go to ground balance. And I'm sure a lot of you have gotten in a place, you set up in the factory presets on your machine and you try to ground balance and it's just all over the place. You just can't get it to ground balance. Well, the next setting we're going to talk about is a pretty good chance out of whack if you can't ground balance at all. There are places where the ground's so bad that you can't, but in most instances you have the sensitivity set too high if your machine will not ground balance. So in a case where you got ground you can't balance in, try turning your gain down a little bit and try again. If it indeed balances, then you know the gain was simply set too high. Some places with my machines, pretty much all of them run a gain from 1 to 20, somewhere in that. Sensitivity, gain, same thing, remember. And I have mine some places down to 3, some places up to 7 or 9, some places even higher. Depending on the ground is where you can set that setting. Okay, so we got the machine ground balance, up and down, same sound up and down. You're not looking for quiet, except with some machines. The Gold Monster, for instance, has a quiet threshold. There is no threshold at all on that machine. It took a while to get used to, but I love the machine. Fisher Gold Bug, Whites, Nocta, all the machine will give you an up and down indication, and when it's balanced, the sound is going to be the same going up as down. Not quiet. It'll be just not or okay. So you got positive going down, negative coming up. You want those two to be pretty equal in the sound. You're ready to hunt at that point. Now the sensitivity. This is where a lot of people get in big trouble gold hunting. Gold machines are very sensitive. They're made to hunt in the worst conditions. But if you have the sensitivity too high on that machine, you're actually allowing more information to go to the machine than the machine can handle in hot ground. So you're hearing way more of the ground than the machine can handle. And as a result, you're going to miss targets. They'll be lost in the cluster of sounds that are screaming at you from the ground. It's basically your detector screaming at you, telling you to fix my settings. And the best way to go about that is once you got the ground balance and you've got your threshold set properly, take and turn the gain all the way down. Okay? Sensitivity, same thing again. Okay, turn it all the way down and slowly come up with it. And the machine at first is going to be very smooth. And you're only holding it about an inch above the ground at this point to do this test. You're not moving the coil at all. And as you turn the gain up, you're going to get to a point where it's, instead of having that nice steady of a rhythm, it's going to start going like that. At that point, stop. Turn it back one notch, one click, one push of the button, whatever the case may be with your detector, and you're ready to hunt. You're ready to hunt. The last thing I'm going to talk about in this little segment is sweep speed. It's kind of funny because I get a lot of guys that are coin relic hunters and they've been doing it for years. I mean, good coin relic hunters. Like a lot of you out there, you guys are way experienced. You're really good and you move when you hunt. I mean, a lot of you guys are swinging at a very fast speed when you're going across the field looking for a target somewhere. Okay, the reason that people that are hunting coins and relics can do that is a lot of the soils they hunt, whether it's hot or not, is evenly distributed as far as mineralization goes. So even if it's bright red soil in Georgia or dark black soil in Illinois, the soil is pretty much evenly mineralized. So once you're balanced to the ground, you're in good shape. Okay, here in Arizona and in the gold fields across the Southwest and other places, we don't have that advantage. We have that crappy soil with the high mineralization. So if you're swinging fast, you're missing gold. And your machine's going to be all over the place. The biggest trouble I have with the coin relic guys is getting them to slow down. I had Bo out here, Aqua Sugar, and that was his thing too. I kept telling him, Bo, you got to slow down. And he did slow down, and he found some nice gold reliefs here. But the thing is, you can't do that quick whip that you guys do. I guess you would have to hunt it like when you're coin and relic hunting in a burned out home area or a place where it's been demolished by bulldozers or whatever, and all the nails and crap are still in the ground, there's iron everywhere. You got to slow down to hear the good targets. We have to hunt that way all the time. We have to hunt at a snail's pace, literally. And I've had people in my seminars sometimes say, well, Bill, if I hunt that slow, I'm going to fall asleep. Well, no, you won't, because you're going to be finding some gold here and there. And the sweep speed for me is about 4.5 seconds or 5 seconds from side to side. And that's so I don't confuse my machine by moving it over too much mineralization and allowing it to hear the ground and understand what it's listening for. These machines are made to hear through this hot ground. But if you move it too fast and don't give it a chance to analyze the ground underneath it, it's going to miss targets, especially the deep ones. And real tiny pieces will sometimes just be a little chirp, and that's all you hear. And so I guess we've covered some things today, and then a little bit of a difference between nugget hunting and coin shooting. Its big thing is slow down. That's one of the biggest things I have to teach people when I'm training, and I do a lot of training. And once I get people to slow down, they start finding gold. And you really pretty much, if your detector's struggling and you can't get it ground balanced, you can't maintain a steady threshold, it's user error 99% of the time. Unless you have a problem with your machine, it's user error. Most of the machines out now, actually all of them out now, the gold nugget machines out there, I don't care what brand it is. I've used every brand out there. I'm a dealer. I mean, I get to try new machines when they come out. And I think all machines are pretty much created equal. They do the same thing. So when I'm talking to you, I'm talking about the similarities in my machine and your machine, whether it's a different brand or not. It doesn't matter. The same settings have to be adjusted properly for you to be successful. And I'll go into more detail on some of the settings and why I use what coils and when I switch coils and all that. I get a lot of questions on that too. But this video is dragging on pretty far. So I'm going to cut this one off right now. If you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email or something and I'll address whatever I can. I've been doing this going on 28 years now, and I've been very successful. And I think it's time to give back. And I want to start sharing information that you can actually use instead of just pictures of my fancy finds and blah, blah, blah. Okay? I want you to be able to go out in the desert with your machine and feel confident. That is 90% of the game in my book, is knowing your machine, trusting your machine, and knowing it will find gold. What I mean by all machines are pretty much created equal, I should clarify this. They're all designed to do the same thing, all brands. But there are major differences from brand to brand that can either be a big advantage or a bit of a hindrance. And again, I get to try quite a few of the machines out there. And in another video, I'll go into a little more detail of why I use the machines that I choose and what makes the differences it has over other machines important to me. And we'll go into that, like I said, in a different video. But as a rule, all gold machines will find gold. They're made to find gold. They're made to handle the mineralized soil. Some do a better job than others. But for the most part, the settings we just got done talking about are the most important settings on any machine from any manufacturer out there. And that's across the spectrum. You know, like I said, Garrett, White's, Fisher, Nugget, there's the XP. There's a lot of different companies out there that make some really brilliant and well working detectors, or detectors that work well, I should say, to get my grammar right. So anyway, we'll go more into that later, and till then, Nugget Shooter out.